Good afternoon, Tigerman parents, families, friends, staff, and of course to our beloved students if you're watching, greetings. My name is Dr. Jeremy Tigerman, and I am the director of Tigerman Schools. I'm coming to you today from the Bahamas. Just kidding. I'm in my office at home. Thought it would be nice for all of us just to imagine being on a nice warm beach somewhere. Today's date is Friday, December 18th, 2020. This video today is the next portion of our series of informative communications called the State of the Union. Not only is today a remote instruction day, it is also the day before our holiday recess, and also it is ugly or wacky sweater day in some of our buildings. I'm doing my part here. Tell me, do you like it? I'm not sure if you're counting, but I wanted to alert to all of you that as of today, Tigerman schools have completed 73 days of school over the course of 16 weeks. Normally, this is not such a big deal, but during a global pandemic, it is an extraordinary accomplishment. This accomplishment has not been easy, and it has not been performed by a single individual. It has truly been a collaborative effort. Like I mentioned to all of you during our last video, Dr. T, Dr. Rad, and I want to communicate our pride in the way we have all stepped up to face the challenges that we have faced to date, and know that no matter what we face going forward, we can accomplish anything if we stay together and stay Tigerman tough. As I mentioned to you over the course of this pandemic, we are not perfect, but we will do everything in our power to eventually get it right. All of you watching are a very important part of our team. And if you have feedback on your child's learning experience to date, or if you have suggestions for our task force teams regarding our pandemic protocols, please never hesitate to reach out to your building principal or to us at social@tigerman.org. As I always do, I want to commend all of our students in the school who are wearing masks. All right. I know it's not been easy and it can be uncomfortable at times, but you have done such a fabulous job of helping to keep our schools safe. Parents, I also want to thank all of you who worked with the children over the course of the summer in order to help prepare them for September. Students, parents, and staff, wonderful job. Keep up the great work. On to our updates. Testing. By now, for our families and staff in our Queens locations, you are all school testing experts. That is because our Queens school buildings are located in a yellow zone and have been required to randomly test a portion of our students and our staff on a weekly basis. I want to commend all of our students, their families, and our staff for participating and for helping to keep our Queens school buildings safe. As of today, we have randomly selected and tested 20% of our students and 20% of our staff in our Woodside and Richmond Hill buildings over the course of 6 weeks. Since the initiation of our testing program, I am happy to announce that we have had 0 positive student and 0 positive staff cases flagged by our testing. That is not to say we have not had positive cases. We definitely have. But the testing does suggest that our buildings are safe and that we do not have tremendous spread of the virus at this point in time. For our Glen Cove buildings, this is our preschool, elementary school, and our middle school. Because you are not presently located in a yellow zone, these buildings are not mandated to test students and staff. However, Dr. T, Dr. Radzowitz, and I recognize the importance of testing as a component to ensuring the health and safety in our buildings. While these buildings are not required to test, we are considering moving forward with initiating a testing program upon our return to school in January 2021. Information will be forthcoming in the new year relating to acquiring student permission to test, as well as providing you with information on the specific parameters of the program if we decide to move forward. Student and staff return to school following presentation of symptoms policy. Wow, that was a mouthful. Now that our school buildings have been open for several months, protocols have been in place to ensure students and staff can safely return to school buildings. The last time I spoke with you, I provided with you an update to our return to school policy. Well, as we've learned through this pandemic, things change and things have changed again. Here is the most recent update. First, you should have recently received an email from your building principals on the update to this change. If you did not, and if you would like a copy of the update on the return to school policy following presentation of symptoms, please contact your building principal. Without further ado, here is the update. Should a student or a staff member call out or be sent home due to the presentation of COVID-like symptoms, he or she can return to school once their symptoms have resolved, and by either waiting 10 days following the onset of the symptoms, or by acquiring a negative COVID-19 test result by means of a PCR test, not a rapid test. I know we discussed previously about the possibility of acquiring a doctor's note should the symptoms be attributed to an alternate diagnosis. Unfortunately, this is no longer sufficient. As I just said, in order to return, you need a negative PCR test result or wait 10 days from the onset of the COVID-19-like symptoms. Hopefully, this information was clear for you, and if you have further questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to your building principal or to your building nurse. Changing your child's instructional program. As we mentioned earlier in the year, if your child is attending school in person and you want to switch him or her to remote learning, this can be done at any point in time. For our families that selected remote learning in September, but are now interested in having their child return to the physical space, your child's first day back in school will be Monday, January 4th. Please make sure that you have alerted your building principal of your desire to switch your child's instructional program, that you have contacted the Office of Pupil Transportation, OPT, to ensure that you have secured transportation for Monday, January 4th, and that you have filled out our required paperwork, which is the daily health attestation form. This must be filled out and signed prior to your child's first day of school back in the physical space. Parents, guardians, and students, please reach out to your building principal should you have any questions about switching instructional programming prior to return to school in January. As I have mentioned to all of you several times, Tiegerman schools are required to report daily to the New York State Department of Health. This information can be found on their website under the COVID-19 school report card. Our schools can be found under the private school section, and then you will have to go to your child's specific Tiegerman building to see our COVID-related data since the beginning of September. On to recent school disruptions. Last time I spoke with you regarding this topic, we had very few positive incidents of COVID in our buildings. Since then, the frequency of positive cases and frequency of remote learning days in certain buildings have increased. Like I've communicated to all of you before, our schools are safe. However, this virus is very catchy, and now that we are indoors more, an increase in cases in our buildings is likely. I want to clarify some things for our families and for our staff, as there have been some questions on how we determine when to operate in person or when we operate in remote. First, our preference is always to provide in-person instruction when we can. If we can ensure that our students and staff are safe and that our buildings are sanitized, we will be open. Staff and families, you should know that what happens in one building does not affect what happens in another building. Each building is their own educational environment. For example, this comes up a lot. Why have some buildings seen longer school closures resulted in extended remote sessions? The reason for this to date has been due to the fact that the building or the buildings employ different instructional programming. For example, our middle school and our high school programs are departmentalized. This means that a subject area teacher switches every 40 minutes or so into a different classroom. In Woodside and in our preschool elementary school buildings, aside from their related services, these classrooms are generally self-contained, meaning that the students and staff within each room do not really interact outside of this room. This results in, if we have a positive case, the ability to focus on the specific classroom and quarantine it if necessary without impacting the entire building. In the middle or high school example, if a teacher tests positive and the day before he or she went into 7 or 8 different classrooms to teach, we have a potential spreading situation. The potential for spread is in the departmentalized program is different than it is for the self-contained program. Please know your building principals are working with me every day to ensure the health and safety of all in our buildings, while also trying to balance the instructional needs of our students, whether they be in person or in remote. Lastly, I would like to clarify the close contact definition again, as we utilize it daily to make determinations on whether someone needs to be contacted directly or whether a person, a classroom, or an entire building needs to be quarantined. A close contact is considered someone who has come in contact directly with someone who has tested positive for COVID-19. This means that the student or the staff member has been within 6 feet for at least 10 minutes with the positive case, or shared a classroom with the positive case, or spent more than 10 minutes in an enclosed space, similar in size to a typical classroom with the positive case, regardless of whether they are wearing wearing a face covering or separated by barriers. Hopefully, this definition clarifies why we make the determinations we do with regard to contacting people, as well as why we make the determinations that we do with regard to quarantining people. If you have further questions about this, please feel free to reach out to your building principal or email us at social@tiegerman.org. Parents, families, friends, staff, and students, it was wonderful reconnecting with you today, and we will continue to do this throughout the course of the school year. For those celebrating Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, and Christmas, we wish you a joyous holiday season and a happy new year. We look forward to facing the challenges of 2020-2021 school year with you, and always want you to remember that we can accomplish anything if we stay together and stay Tiegerman tough. Have a restful vacation all. Take care.